Hey, everybody, I'm Cory, and I am a life coach. And I am here asking some important questions today. What if the fears that once held you back are actually the keys to unlocking a stronger, wiser version of yourself? I want to talk about that question today. Welcome to Fear to Freedom, one story at a time, where change isn't just possible, it's already happening. It's your story. It's unlocking the next chapter of your journey. And today I am honored and delighted to have a friend, a colleague, a pal. Adam Nugent is with me today. Adam, say hello.
Cory, pleasure. It's an honor to be here with you today, and I always love spending time with you, my friend.
Right back at you. So, Adam is, we've been together, we've been friends now for almost 2 years, I think, give or take a
Yeah,
little bit.
two and a half, yeah, two and a half years, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Adam and I, we've done quite a bit together in the world of healing, and we're both coaches. Adam works a lot with men's transformational groups and the art of rewriting our stories, which is a lot of what I do too. And so we have that in common. But Adam and I also have some healing stories in common that I'm sure we'll get to in today's conversation. Adam, speak in your own words for our audience. Just tell a little bit of people what you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I run and own a coaching organization called Burn Up. Similar to a Phoenix Rising. I love the question that you posed at the very beginning of this, of this conversation, of this podcast, as far as, in my words, I would say, what I'm learning to do, and have not always done this. And I think it's an art, it's a superpower when someone can do this really in all aspects of life. But I believe fear is a calling. I think everything we want is on the other side of fear. And, and again, we're programmed subconsciously to protect, to, deflect from what's hot. We don't want to get hot. We don't want to get burned. We don't, and then translating that into just everyday life. We don't want to fail. We're scared what other people think. A lot of it's lacked in, is rooted in lack of worthiness and how we feel about ourselves and limiting beliefs. The list goes so on and so on. And what I've learned is that, when I look back at all the things that I've gone through my life, and I've been through some pretty traumatic, some pretty wild, I would call rock bottom hell moments, if you will, literally in every aspect of my life. I can say confidently today, and it not necessarily when I was going through it, but today it's like every one of those instances, as painful as they were actually for my good. It was fuel to help take me to the next level,
Yeah.
to, which has kind of led me here today. So yeah, so Burn Up's my organization. My tagline's freedom's in the fire. I believe, again, everything we want. I love that question because I asked that, in my words, to many men that I work with, is what we want is on the other side of that. And I truly believe the difference between who's ever quote unquote made it, whether that's in business, in their body, in relationally, whatever happens to be, they all have their fears too. They just did it anyway. And they move forward. Right. And as we
Mhm.
move through the fears, we move through the fire, whatever happens to be, that is where confidence is forged. That's where we have evidence to support that we're on the right direction. And that's where we up-level our life. And my core thing of what I do with men is help them rewrite the story that's holding them back. Because if we get to the core of why we aren't where we want to be or have what we want, it's rooted in a story. It's got to
Mhm.
start there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, so many things are triggering for me about that in my story and what I know of your story and what we're doing. And as I've been doing Fear to Freedom and making these interviews and putting them out there, and then the incredible feedback I've been getting, Adam, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, like this trio, they go together in such an amazing way. And I think in our world, we don't have a lot of good examples. Our parents and our grandparents certainly didn't know these tools. Our culture does not support us in knowing these as tools. And I think there's an assumption when we're afraid that we stop in our tracks, we hide under the bed, we put our fingers in our ears and we shake and we shut down. It's a crippling agent. And most of us recognize that from a very ancient trigger of fear when we were in immediate danger. And I think our physiology and our kinesiology responds in that immediate danger mode. But in this modern age, are we really in an immediate danger, but we're responding like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. It comes to mind too you know, is safety, right? People want to feel safe, and especially relationally. I want to feel safe. I want to feel safe. I want to feel safe. And, I had a coach actually ask the question. He goes, well, what makes you feel like you're not safe? You know, it's like, if you get really honest with yourself, like, you're already safe. Like, that's a fear that's like, that's not real. And again, sometimes we say things that before we even think through it, but safety, right? We want to, what, or comfort, if you will, we want to stay in that comfortable position. And the irony in that is many times, frankly, is like, wherever we are in life, we're not comfortable really, but that discomfort becomes our comfort. And to move out of that, that's where growth happens, is
Right.
challenging. And then, of course, we have stories, this fight or flight, we freeze, we're scared. I mean, I've had plenty of moments where I'm curled up in a ball, bawling my eyes out, just scared to death of like, how am I going to get through
Same.
this? What am I going to do? Like, I get that. It's a crippling feeling. And but in those moments, those are those moments can actually be the catalyst. That could be a rock bottom moment to propel somebody to where they're ultimately needing to go. And that rock bottom moment, that frozen, that fear thing, was actually what was necessary in order to basically crack open to become that phoenix rising,
Yeah,
from
exactly.
whatever trial someone might be going through.
So let's talk a little bit about like before the Phoenix Rising moment, because like you've been there, I've been there. We've made it through it in such a way together. I mean, individually, but also like the work that you and I are doing together, uh, embracing that Phoenix Rising moment. But the moment before that, when fear has actually stopped you in your tracks, if we're talking to some people out there who might be finding us for the first time today, let's talk about what it is. Like, how do you know that you're stopped in your tracks? What are those symptoms of being crippled by fear? What does that
Yeah,
feel like? What does
great
that look
question. So first off, like, tons of empathy for someone that might be in that today. Tons of empathy, love, compassion,
like? For
understanding.
sure. That's
You're
why
not
we're
alone,
here. That's why we're
right?
doing this. Yeah.
Not alone. We've been there, right? And when, especially in those difficult, that in the storm, in the bottom, in the hell, whatever you want to call it, like, when you're in it, to be able to see clearly, it's like, how am I going to get through this? There's no way out. You mentioned what are some of the symptoms. So I think, my belief is we're all addicted to something. I think we're all addicts. There's
Serotonin, dopamine,
yeah,
our brain
and
chemicals right
many
off the bat.
many times addictive behaviors, whatever it happens to be. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis society around drugs and alcohol. That could be porn, that could be social
Shopping.
media, that could be drama, that could be people, it could be exercise. I mean, the list goes on and on. We all have something that we do to kind of numb, check out, not want to feel. And what's interesting is, from my experience with, I went through 3 years of a very painful process of losing my company, and it was very painful, and ego death, the surrendering to I mean, it was horrific, and I didn't know what to do with it. It was so painful. And so I didn't want to feel because it was too painful. So I just checked out,
Yeah.
and not in the way, and it was finding substances and different things to go to. So one symptom that, if someone finds themselves in an addictive an addictive cycle, the irony in it is, like, we don't want to feel, but then we take something or do something to make us feel. But really, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. You can't outrun whatever's going to happen. It's like the freedom is in facing it. The freedom's in the fire is actually going through it. And those addictive behaviors, the substances, the patterns, whatever happens to be, is just keeping, if someone happens to be in that pattern, which I believe is more common with men than women, is you're stuck. You're actually keeping yourself in there. You're almost, what you want to avoid, you're keep throwing yourself in it, and you're just perpetuating the pain that you're feeling by not dealing with it or not addressing it. So, again, your question on the symptom, I think if someone's in an addictive, maybe they don't even realize it, but if they're turning to something they want to feel, and it could be something as simple as avoiding a hard conversation in a marriage or a relationship,
Yeah.
and that avoidance, you not wanting to deal with it or not wanting to have conflict or scared of the outcome, frankly, leads you back to some behavior or substance or something you're doing to not feel. The reality is, you're just postponing what is inevitably is going to happen. There's going to be a cracking point at some time. You can't outrun it. So I think the number one symptom for me that I see in that really is like, how am I spending my time, my energy? Where am I putting it when I'm faced with a particular challenge? And I've always looked up to someone when someone's faced with a big challenge, and they just kind of push through it. I mean, there's so much magic that happens in that, but more often than not, most people don't lean in. Most people pull away, and it's the pain becomes not only in how we pull away, but how far we pull away, and what are we doing, frankly, to actually self-sabotage and make the situation a lot worse.
Right. Right. And we think, sometimes in that moment, it's like, okay, this is going to be my little fuzzy blanket comfort zone, but it's the very thing that's fueling the fire. And you're right, it's inevitable. That change is coming. The change is coming, and I think the fear, that crippling agent of being stopped in your tracks. Okay, one thing that I know about fear, and this is what I work with a lot with my clients and community, as well as here on Fear to Freedom, is a new definition, a redefining of fear. Like if we're not in immediate danger, and I often say, like, what if a saber tooth is not eating your belly right now? Because that's sometimes what it feels like. I'm going to be eaten by a tiger right now. But if that's not the case, and we can wake up a little bit and realize that, oh, I'm just responding that way. But what's happening when fear happens? Like what's really going on is that I believe all of our senses begin to download a lot of information quickly, which is the overwhelm of fear. Like, whoa, I see a lot, I hear a lot, I know a lot. I'm my feelings, the temperature, the texture, I'm aware of so much at once. And when my intellect can go, I'm not in danger. Oh, and I'm downloading information quickly. Oh, I can say yes to that. And then, oh, I'm downloading a lot fast. Cool. People pay thousands to jump out of airplanes to have a very similar experience. Like, whoa, I just downloaded a lot. Or other mind expanding experiences will kind of do the same thing. So I kind of like to redefine fear to say, okay, well, what if we're just downloading a lot of information quickly? I love the idea that fear is proof of ignorance, not in a bad way, but it's an opportunity to know that you don't know. You don't know. You want to know something you don't know, right?
It's interesting. Again, whatever your spiritual belief is in a higher power, the universe, God, whatever, everybody has a different interpretation of what that is or who that is. It's interesting when we're in those frozen moments of fear with whatever we're dealing with. It's not uncommon that someone goes to their knees, right, and prays for it to be taken away, right? Take this away from me. Help move this away, right? But I've had this whole thought around this here just recently, actually, about prayer in itself. Like, what if ultimately what we're praying for to be relieved or taken away or not be in our lives is frankly the greatest thing that could be happening to us today?
Yeah.
Right? It's a story. Again, we can choose to focus on all the negative sides of it and all the things that could go wrong or are going wrong, or it could just also mean that a door that was, that you thought was the door that you needed to go through, with whatever that happens to be, is being shut. But the reality is, by that door shutting, by whatever you're shedding or going right through, it actually opened up 10 other doors that you can't see right now because you're so focused on what's not working. When in reality, it's like this closure, this end, this finality, this whatever it is that someone's dealing with could actually be the greatest thing that could possibly happen for them.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, for example, I went through a divorce. I wouldn't wish divorce on my worst enemy. I've got 4 sons that I love dearly. And, when you're going through a divorce, I'm the worst. I'm never going to feel loving. All the feelings that you're feeling in that moment. And it's painful. It's anyone going through that or has gone through that. Anyone that's gone through that knows. Anyone that's in it right now, you have thoughts all over the place. The reality is, if I look back on that moment, that was one of the greatest things for me personally. And my co-parent, my ex-wife now, we're really good friends. Our family's a better unit, and it doesn't look like it's quote unquote supposed to. But going through that, I got to go feel love and intimacy and connection at a level I never even knew was possible. And the appreciation of that wouldn't have been so profound had I not experienced the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we know, divorce, which affects a lot of people. We all know people that have been divorced in some cases 10, 20 years that can't even be in the same room with who they were married to and still have this story, and they're caught in this victim, like, poor me thing. And at the end of the day, why is someone like that versus someone like me that shows up with my ex? Anything's possible, but it's still rooted in a story. So this whole thing with prayer and wanting things to go away, I'm of the belief today that any challenge that we're faced with is actually propelling us where we need to go. I have found myself having less resistance around stuff that used to bother me significantly. And now I'm choosing to tell myself, like, this sucks. I don't like this. I'm nervous, I'm scared, whatever the emotion I'm feeling, but I know that if I stay the course, something better is going to come on the other side of this. This is actually a blessing. This is actually a gift from the universe that I'm being given, and it's on me to take radical accountability for the role that I'm played in it, learn from it, and then move forward. We're the common denominator in every aspect of our life. And again, it's easy to point a finger at so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this, and trust me, that's the easy way. But when you can turn the mirror, it's like, you know what, this is happening, and this is the role I played. Someone else might have played a role. Maybe it's been completely out of your control. And you're not necessarily responsible for what somebody did to you or something that happened to you, but you are responsible to what you do with it and what you go with it. And if you stay and it's their fault, well, is it going to be their fault that you're going to stay at whatever level for the rest of your life or for a time? No, it's a choice. You're choosing that. And it's about taking your power back. And so I'm of this whole belief that it's like, if I'm facing a challenge, and again, I've been there, I've been on my knees, take this away. I want to feel this. I mean, I could spend hours talking about all the things that I wanted to be taken away. Today, with where I'm at, because of what I've gone through, my belief is it's a gift. My belief that heartache and failure and pain and fear, those are some of the greatest gifts, if not the greatest gifts that God has given us, because they're activators. That's where change happens.
Yeah.
They truly are gifts. And if we can learn, and I'm not, by no means am I perfect, but I want to make this a superpower for me, that when I'm faced with challenges, that I can move through them. And many times the challenge that we're faced, again, it's rooted in a story. It's because we're not surrendering to what is. You know, my definition of surrender is I don't like something, but if I accept it, then it loses its power.
Exactly right.
We create so much more pain and anguish and shame and guilt, whatever the thing is around the emotions, because we're resisting what's happening. If we lean into it, we move through it quicker. It helps us lead us to where we want, and just surrendering to what is. Because I mean, I did a social post about this the other day around is at the time of this recording, it's the presidential elections going on. And at the end of the day, it's like we have zero control over whatever candidate's going to win. And you could argue each vote matters, but at the end of the day, this isn't going to come down to one vote. Second, whatever that candidate does, even the person that wins, or by this time has won, you have no control on what they're going to do or not do. So people get so caught up in all this stuff, put so much energy into stuff that frankly, they have zero control over. And yet what you do with it is you do have control. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing we have control is ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's about taking your power back and not being a victim, a martyr, and realizing that you're the common denominator, and life's going to throw curveballs. That is life. Life is not easy. Yeah. Life is hard, but it becomes more hard the more resistance we put about the curveballs that come. Curveballs are coming.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So a couple things that pop into my head about what we're talking about right now. First of all, if you're out there in the world and you're frightened and you're at that crippling place, one of those first steps you can do is to stop trying to remove fear from your story 100%. I think there's in a lot of therapy, or a lot of modalities and healing, personal growth modalities that are out there, there is a concept of, if I could just remove the fear and take it away, make it go away, I think that creates a problem, because it doesn't go away. Because our story is still our story. And so one of the things that I like to think about is when I'm feeling that fear knocking on my door, and it's usually the kitchen door, the back door. They're not coming to the front door formally. No, they're sneaking in the back door because they know you. Your fear knows your secrets. And sometimes they're already in. Some of you find your fear sitting at the kitchen table in the dark. Whoa, who let you in here? Because it's that familiar. So I think that first step is, instead of trying to remove fear, the opposite is set a place at the table for fear.
Yeah, dance with it.
Dance with it, invite it in, and give it the good wine, and give it the good cheese, and ask it for the lesson it has come to give you. You know, befriend your fear, learn, communicate, connect with, understand your fear. What does that do when you're first doing that? Breathe. Just breathe. Calm down, connect, and just know that there's a different choice about to happen.
You know, what's one of the things that really helped me through those real painful, what I'll call like a DEFCON 5, or like the just ultimate level of fear and frozen, right? Is, I'm a big advocate for gratitude writing and writing out gratitude. And it's easy to write So to me, there's another level of it. One, we can, again, focus, what you focus on grows, right? So if you're focusing on the good things in your life, right, that's one part. The other part of gratitude writing that really helped me through that is I was expressing gratitude through the challenges that I was going through. Like, so very painful stuff that I was going through, but like an example, I gave an example earlier about a divorce. It's like, I'm great finding gratitude in what you're going through and expressing gratitude through it. What I found for me is it didn't take it away. It didn't go away. I was still scared. I didn't know, but it went from a DEFCON 5 to a DEFCON 3. It got to where there were days where I could actually manage and move through it because I was expressing gratitude. I was programming myself, telling myself a different story, and not always believing it all the time. I mean, sometimes I was going through the motions with it, and really I wanted to say like, F you, I didn't like, but nevertheless, by expressing gratitude for the things that are going well in life, and even expressing gratitude, the other layer for me is expressing gratitude for the things that aren't, going well, because it then lowers the threshold, the strength, the stranglehold that it has on us. It just loosens the grip. Again, you said this, it's still a story, but and many times when we're in that, we don't feel like we can change the story. The truth is it's rooted in that. And if you're caught in this cycle that you feel like you can't get out of, trust me, it's tied to a story. So try telling something different.
Yeah. I love that concept of story. I work with this in my world a lot. And after, of course, a long career in show business of telling stories for a living, big stories, I love the idea of that tomorrow is a story that never happens because tomorrow never happens. It's always today. And yesterday is a story that we can redefine. An old story, we can gain a new understanding of what stopped us in such a way that a wound then turned into wisdom, a suffering turned into satisfaction. As we heal and grow, there's a reason that those demons or the dragon comes knocking at the door. And I love that idea. Like, sure, we want to heal, we want to be successful, we want to have our dreams come true. And when we ask the universe for some of those dreams and those good ideas and those things that would be amazing to show up, often what happens is universe, God, source, creator, whatever goes, oh, that's what you want? Well, then in order to get there, here's the obstacle. And we go, oh, man, but wait a minute, I was asking for this and I got that, which is often feels like the opposite.
I love that you said the dragon, right? I don't know if you can see this, probably. Like,
barely. Yeah.
barely. It's kind of the glare in it. Anyway, it's a picture of this is actually my screensaver on my phone. It's a picture of a woman touching the nose of the dragon. And the dragon is symbolic, right, of the fear of whatever we're avoiding. And what's in the background is there's a dove. So it's like, the truth is, like, when we touch the dragon, when we face our fears, that's where the magic happens. It's the avoidance of touching the dragon, your example you gave, it's that avoidance. It's the resistance of it that creates the pain. It's like when you lean into it, magic happens there. I mean, I literally can't think of anybody that's actually chosen to lean into their pain, what they're scared of, that did not come out on the other side. One, they were okay. And more often than not, were better than they were before.
Yeah.
All right. So again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's like, so just again, what if? It's a question. I mean, this is my belief today, but for those that are listening, I pose the question, what if whatever trial you might be facing today is actually a gift?
Yeah.
What if it's a miracle that you've been asking for and been praying for?
And it's
here. It's here.
Custom designed for your ask.
Yeah.
Like God created the universe, heard your ask and said, okay, let's go. If this is the shortest way there, let's deal with it. I love that I always say this, the obstacle is the path. The obstacle is the path. We spend a lot of time learning this lesson by running around the obstacle, but the more you run around, the further you go.
I used to drop into this meditation that would help me through that. I'm floating down a river, and I come to a fork in the river, and there's one fork that goes around, and I can see that it's easy. It's the easy path. But I can't see necessarily where it goes, but where I need to go, there's a drop off, there's cliffs, there's rapids, I'm going to get beat up along the way. I already know that, but it's going to get me there quicker. And it was fascinating that I would then take whatever challenge I was going through, and like, I'm facing the challenge. Do I face it or avoid it? There were many times where I'm like, I want the easy way. I want the easy way. But the reality is that I've learned is like, the more you lean into it, yeah, you're going to get bumped along the way. Your ego's going to get, whatever's going to happen. It's going to hurt. But like, that's actually building armor, if you will. It's building confidence. It's helping you get through that. It's like, if I'm in with what I've gone through, I can get through anything. And even when I was going through it, I didn't think I'd get through it, but I did. And I'm
Yeah.
still here today. And I just, I say this all the time, like the hard button is the easy button, but yet we don't want to do the quote unquote hard. It's fascinating. Everyone wants the easy route, but I don't know anything in life, frankly, that's actually worth something in any one of our lives. Financially, relationally, French, anything, there's been friction that's got it to be epic, next level, orgasmic, existential, whatever happens to be. It's been those trials and challenges along the way that has got somebody there. If something's just given to you, you don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that pops into my head about this. As we learn and we grow and we learn, we collect our learnings from our lessons, our challenges bring us wisdom, and in the realm of personal expansion, spiritual expansion, human expansion, because I think we all have a real desire to be good humans. I think we're all really trying to be a good human. And as we expand or as we heal, and I like the word expansion, when we expand past our current challenges and we go, wow, I made it here. I made it through that hard thing, that difficult thing, that challenging thing. In the expansion, we're now handed the next round of challenges. Like, I love that phrase, healing is not a destination. Healing is a choice we make with every breath we take, because it never stops.
Yeah, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, and so the knowing that there's always going to be that next obstacle. As we practice our obstacles, we gain confidence in overachieving obstacles, so that when the next one is there, we go, whoa, look, it's huge. Look how big it is. Great, let's go. Let's tackle that thing. But that takes a little bit of confidence, especially if you've been burnt or hurt or traumatized or torn down. Oh, where do you begin again?
It's hard. It's hard because it's, if someone's been hurt, if you've been betrayed, if you've just, whatever trauma that we have experienced in life, right? We might not even consciously be thinking it, but subconsciously it's built in there. We put walls up, right?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
walls then support our story. And at the end of the day, trust me, the pain that I went through before, I don't ever want to go through that again. Like, and I truly believe I won't, because I feel like I have new tools in who I am today. I mean, I know challenges are going to come. That's life. But I hope I never go. In fact, I know that I'll never get to where I was before, just because of where I am at today, because of the work that I've done. But nevertheless, it's like when we're in those moments, I come back to this. It's like, I think many times I would say when we're in a very difficult season or situation where even the trauma and all of it, it's still rooted in a story. And it's, but we've, again, what you focus on grows, which we'll always find evidence to support whatever belief we have. I mean, that's the way our brain works. Like, we can get A, B, and C, and if we don't have the rest of the alphabet, it'll finish, our subconscious will finish the alphabet, even though it might not even be accurate, or that's just the way it works, right? So that's why it's important to ask lots of questions and do stuff, and even asking ourselves questions like, is that true? Is that really the truth? And it's like, I'm of the belief that I want to take my power back and I don't want to give it away. And when I get caught up into stories or belief patterns, and sometimes other people's belief patterns or whatever, or I'm trying to placate somebody or please somebody, it's like I'm learning to just pause. I have this 3-step process that I take myself through. It's like I pause, I reflect, and then I redirect.
Yeah.
Right. And it's fascinating that even when an emotion comes up, by practicing that, the universe will move it in a matter of seconds. I could get, I'm a head case and I can get in my head and think all sorts of different things. But if I pause, I reflect, is this serving me? Or, I'll talk to myself for a minute, and then I redirect. And by just acknowledging that feeling, that emotion, just acknowledging it, it's like that inner child, we're letting them be seen, and then redirect, put your energy somewhere else. The universe moves it. It's fascinating. It can be moved in a matter of 10 seconds. It's fascinating.
Absolutely, especially with a couple of tools, like emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping. People know about this, which is basically what that does. If those of you who don't know what that is, there's the 14 Chinese meridians in our body from Chinese medicine, and they relate to the 14 muscles. And when in our own physical bodies, it's the emotional filing cabinet of stuff that we can't deal with, and so we put it in our body until we can. So that's where tension comes in. So when we tap, for example, when we pause, reflect, and redirect, some of that tapping releases that trapped energy out of our physical body. And so when we do something like that, like pause, reflect, and redirect, or do the tapping points, or do some deep breathing, or hakala, like Hawaiian, let's get into the learning state, let's breathe and expand and awaken our bodies. These are all really amazing, quick tools to reground, to recollect your wits, and to realize that we're all creators. Because I really think, Adam, what I'm getting to here, I guess, long way around, is that we're either reacting or we're creating in every moment, but you can't do both at the same time. When we're reacting, we're giving our power away. When we're creating, we're totally taking it back. And I think in some ways, maybe the original sin when we bring religious concepts into this is when we stop creating, being the creators that we came here to be.
Interesting. No, I appreciate that. I was thinking into that, like, what did you say? You said you're either creating or what?
Reacting or creating.
Yeah. It's interesting. Even if I'm reacting, even if, like, for example, if you say something that offends me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a reaction to it, and then I'm going to create a narrative around what you're doing or not doing that potentially could then push me. So it's like the creation, to me, it's like the reactive can pull you off, but like we're always creating. But no, I always love different perspectives and different things, right? Especially because we're in the same space. It's like, okay, does that resonate? Does it not? And I think that's the cool thing too, that like there's a million different tools, and what's been right for you or what's right for me might not necessarily be right for somebody else, right? It's interesting that there's, an invitation to anyone listening to this is like, I'm curious, George. I love to ask questions, and it's like I've gone down every rabbit hole known to man. Well, maybe not everyone, but I've gone down a lot, and it's like I think this works, and then it's like, yeah, this doesn't work. I changed my mind. Yeah, this doesn't work, right? And what's for me personally, what I have found at the core of all of it is many times as I've gone down rabbit holes, whether it's been in coaching and books and everything from psychics to medium to plant medicine to all the, you name the thing. Ultimately, what I've learned is like, at the end of the day, it's like, I believe the answers are inside of us, and the answers are inside of us. And having people like you and I in people's lives as an accountability partner, as a guide, whatever you want to do. But ultimately, it's to lead, my job today with men I work with is to lead them back to themselves. Because I truly believe something clicks in us and resonates with us more when we actually come to the conclusion ourselves versus somebody telling us. Nobody wants to be told what to do, right? But when you make the decision for yourself, it builds confidence, and again, we're the creators, we're the authors of our life. And when you can truly lean into that, take radical accountability for whatever's going on, it's like we're all playing a role, right?
Yeah.
And we can take the pay, and that's why I think it's so hard for people, and it's so painful, because to literally look in the mirror and just like, okay, this is on me. I'm here because of me. I played a role, and just to accept the responsibility. I'm finding, and that's been difficult for me in the past, but today it's like, I think it's freeing. That's where freedom is. Yep, this is on me. I did this. Okay, now what am I going to do?
Yep. Yep. Ultimately, we're taking responsibility for every aspect of our lives. I think that's what we're here to learn to do. I think we come here as humans, we forget that, and then we're here to remember that and embrace those lessons. I think overall that's what we're doing. But Adam, I want to, as we begin to wrap up our time together today, these two words have come up a couple of times in our conversation today. These two words are inspired motivation. And I love those two words together, because sometimes we're motivated to change because I'm hurting right now. I'm motivated because I need to. I'm motivated because I'm without. But inspired motivation, that's loaded with creativity. It's loaded with inspiration. It's loaded with intuition. It's loaded with connection to source. It's loaded with the law of attraction and all of the Kabbalah and the seven laws of the universe. Because all of a sudden, when we're inspired, we don't need somebody to say, get out of your chair. When we're inspired, we get up and go. We're already there. We're running towards. When we're inspired, we're motivated. And I know that you and I do a lot of work with we've done plant medicine work together in a pretty big way, over the last couple of years. And for me, that's where a lot of this inspired motivation comes from, because I see in the willingness to do the work, face our obstacles, face our demons, circle the dragon. When we circle the dragon with all of our tools, the dragon stops breathing fire and gives us his gold. How cool is that? Oh, wow, we're not going to remove the dragon. We're going to befriend the dragon and then ride the dragon. Wow. Inspired motivation, excitement. All of a sudden, we're living a life of love, and love is leading us there. Fear and love, almost like two sides of the same coin. When we can use fear as a motivator to return to love, that's what I'm talking about.
No, I love that. It's, again, we're the creators of our life, inspired motivation. The reality is motivation many times can be fleeting, right?
Yeah.
And what do you do in those moments? We can go to hear a motivational speaker. Someone can get really excited about, have hope. Maybe there's someone that's in such a low point and they're listening to this and they just, we're giving them hope. We've been where you've been, different things, like there could be hope, but ultimately we're not always going to be motivated. Like that's not even real. And yet we want to do that. Now, the analogy I do is like, when you hear that music that comes on, whatever it is, that song that pumps you up, you're just excited, whatever. But it's like, what do you do when there's no music, right? When there's no, and it could be something as simple as, hey, I want to get up and work out. It's like, I'm motivated. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to do this. And then the alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and you want to stay in bed. It's like in those moments, and you can apply that to every aspect of life, is like motivation. Really, the core of what I believe needs to be there really is disciplined action and taking steps necessary. And it's like it becomes part of who you are. So you mentioned plant medicine, and when I first did it, I really truly understand the concept of integration and doing the work, right? I believe like I geek out on that now. Like I can't wait to integrate, no matter how uncomfortable it is, whatever. It's because like I know, but by when I'm shown something, motivation, when I'm motivated by seeing something or envisioning something or seeing something, I know that that's only possible if I actually do the work and get disciplined in whatever I need to do. And so again, we become the creators of our own motivation. But again, motivation is not always going to be there. And when we can actually discipline ourselves to do, A, B, C, and D every single day or continuously, even when we don't want to, the motivation isn't necessarily need to be there. That just helps us take it to the next level because we've embodied, we've integrated, whatever the word is, this new way of being. And it's that phase of like where someone currently is and they want to get here, that the path to get there, especially initially, is painful. That's where most people trip up. But if you can stay the course and just have faith and know that like, hey, I'm moving in the right direction, even in those days where you just want to say, F it, I'm done, but you do it anyway, the discipline. I mean, I think discipline is, someone posted this morning. It was a great quote I saw on social media. It's like, discipline is the ultimate act of self-love.
Yeah.
That really resonates.
That's so good. Yeah. Well, a good colleague, a friend of ours said something to us a couple months ago, Adam. We were both in the same room and it was like I think it was referred to as the 3 steps of shamanism or the 3 steps of healing. And the first one is to be decided. To be decided. Okay, I'm going to make the choice to do this. And that includes the awareness that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Because that's where the growth happens, right? The second step is to follow and lead with your heart more powerfully than your mind. Bring your heart into your conversation. And the third step is stay the course because you will be challenged. And I think that applies to so many parts of our world. Be decided where you're going and what you want. Follow and lead with your heart powerfully and stay the course and welcome those challenges.
And, I know we're wrapping up here, but I just, for your listeners too, I just want to applaud you and just honor you for the man you are, Cory. And there's been a couple of difficult seasons where I leaned on you and did some coaching with you and, for for those of you consider on the fence work with Cory, I mean, Cory has a beautiful way of articulating words and doing things. And it's, yeah. And the thing I love about Cory too, and as my, is again, you've gone through your challenges. You talk about them openly, right? I think one of the things I love about you is your vulnerability. Vulnerability is a superpower. And we as men have a real hard time being vulnerable. Just real quick story to wrap up. After losing my company and doing that, while I was going through it, I was suicidal, nearly took my life. And last year, about 18 months ago, I took, for me, the courageous step of actually talking about it publicly. And I was scared to death.
I remember when you did
And
that.
when I put myself out there, yeah, in fact, it was that's actually right after you and I met.
Yep.
And I was petrified, shaking. And
You were.
hundreds of people reached out of love and compassion. But the most surprising thing were the number of men that sent me private messages. You saved my life today. Thanks for being brave. I'm not alone. What I believe connects us more than anything aren't the awards or the accolades. It's the challenges. It's the limiting beliefs. It's the pain of what we're all going through as men and women, as a society, as a world. There's a common thread. And when we can openly talk about it, it creates space for other people to share their experiences. More importantly, to feel that, hey, it's okay that you're not okay. Oh my gosh, I've been there. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, we live in a world of masks, if you will, right? And everybody's trying to pretend, or many people, I should say, are trying to pretend to be somebody else, or they're scared or nervous to actually share what's going on underneath, whatever they're going through, because they're afraid that other people are going to look down on them, they're going to be less than. But the reality is, by sharing whatever challenge they're going through, they could be at a table and everybody's having the whole conversation. And then all of a sudden, it's like everyone feels safe to be able to talk about it. There's so much power in being open and real and vulnerable. So just for those of you that are going through shit and struggling, and just, you might be in just the most horrific season, know this: one, it's temporary. It will pass. Nothing is permanent. You will move through it quicker as you lean into it and accept what's happening. As you accept it, now what do you do with it, right? That there's magic in that. And know that you're not alone. It's many times that we get in those real difficult, for me, when I was in that suicidal space, I isolated. Just the amount of shame and guilt that I was feeling, it was wild. And I didn't realize it, but there was an arsenal of people there that helped me. And even anyone listening to this that might be in a real difficult situation, you got two men here that would welcome you with, open arms to be able to talk through things and help you through this, because no, it's temporary. You'll get through this and you will be a better person. And you will look back on whatever moment you're going through with gratitude for what you're going through, because at the end of the day, and I literally will say this again, the challenges that we're faced with are gifts.
Yeah.
And it's a choice on what you do with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Adam, as we begin to really wrap up our time together, you and I could sit and do this all day. And we have many times, and we will again, I'm sure. But in the nature of this recording, we're the reason that we're here, the reason I'm doing Fear to Freedom one story at a time, is for that very reason, to be witnessed. You and I both have had those hard times. And both of us, in the middle of that hard time, had the courage to stand up in it. Like, I remember the day before you posted that post about your business, getting honest about your situation. You were pacing, you were nervous, you were scared shitless. And you didn't tell me what was going on, but you said, I've got a challenge and I'm going to do this thing tomorrow. And you were on the edge that day. And then the next day it posted, and I was just like, well, Adam, there's the courage and the vulnerability. And then you got the feedback, and not just the feedback, but you also got the healing that came with it, the magic that comes when we get honest like that. And the great thing about that is, in the power of witnessing, this is a medicine. Witnessing is a medicine. When we take a turn being witnessed in our own story, these are the things that happen. We embrace our fears, and the fears become wisdoms. Woundedness turns to wisdom. Suffering turns into satisfaction. The only way out is through. The path is the obstacle. But the other side, the people that are doing the witnessing, see themselves in your story. And they see themselves in your own story in such a way they go, I'm not alone in those amazing feelings that I don't have the tools to deal with. I've never been there myself, even though I'm in it right now. And we grant an amazing permission to one another to feel gigantically, to heal gigantically, and to rise up, phoenix rising right out of the ashes. And that's why we need each other. We're stronger, we're way more stronger together than we'll ever be standing alone. And I know that, Adam, that's why you and I have risen out of our own ashes in such a way that we regained our own healing, we regained our own power, and now we're standing there with our hand out to the world saying, oh my gosh, if it happened to me, it can certainly happen to you. And if you're ready, here's my hand.
Everybody loves a hero story. Look at Hollywood, right? How many hero stories? Be the hero of your own story. Be the hero of your own story, right? I just the hero's journey and all of it. And look again, you look at the movies that are popular, right? It could be a relationship falls apart, breaks away, they come back together, something else happens. I mean, there's always a crumbling, there's always something that happens, and then there's magic, right? I mean, we see it in life everywhere. And when we're in those low moments, it's like, is that me? Because when you're dark, it's like, that's not even possible. Like, it's to even see that clearly. But we're both here telling you, like, listen, anything is possible. I say this constantly. It's like, it doesn't matter what's happened in life, where you are, no matter what age you are, you can be whoever you want and you can have whatever you want. If you're willing to do the work, face your fears, change your story, and just accept it is, and look at all of these challenges as gifts. They are gifts. They're blessings, frankly. And we don't understand all of it, and we don't need to understand all of it. But just know that, like, there is hope. You can do whatever you want to. And and I truly believe the universe, God has our back, always wants the best for us. But if we find ourselves in patterns, we're going to continue to be faced with those challenges until we learn the lesson. And then we'll learn more and more and more. But if we can face our fears, look at them as gifts, look at them as opportunities, that's where magic happens. And I'm obsessed with it. And I've just seen it apply in my own life. And I'm so passionate and purpose driven to help others do that, and as are you. So it's been an honor.
Well, one thing I'd say right there, Adam, is, you just said, if we can face our fears. I want to just change that a little bit, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because you will one day, one way or the other. It's coming. It's coming. I think the question is, do we wait until it's so bad that we have to? Or do we get the sign a little earlier to say, oh, you know what? Last time I waited too long. This time, I see it coming. I'm going to jump in and do it now.
Yeah.
Because our challenges are coming every single time. The challenges don't stop.
Yeah, they're not going away. It's what you do with them and how you react to them. Again, we're the creators. Is it an opportunity, or is it, again, it's individual for each person. So no, I like that. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah. So fear, in the whole point of this podcast, the stories, the shifting, the redefining of fear from a crippling agent to your most honored knight in shining armor. What if fear is actually stopping you in your tracks so that you can learn what you need to learn, study and research until you have an aha that suits your needs, and then that aha is the dividing, inspired motivation for the healing that you're after. And that gives you the capability to claim a radical yes to change your course. I love to think about that, where all of a sudden fear is not just stopping me, it's slowing me down so that I can speed up.
Yeah, go slow to go fast.
Go slow to go fast. So this is when I say, okay, fear, when you come knocking at the door, I'm going to get out the china and the wine glasses and light the candles and the good cheese and the good wine and welcome you like I would any honored guest and ask you why you have come.
Yeah. Get curious. Ask the question. Yeah. It'll be presented to you.
Right. So everybody out there, in the show notes here, there'll be connector links for Adam and Burn Up and what he's doing, as well as to find me and my coaching, the services that I provide. And who knows, you might even find your way close enough to find out what Adam and I are doing together, which are some pretty cool things, bringing people together to transform and heal and to rise up into our own expansion. We're doing those things together. Adam, any last minute notes, last minute farewells to our audience out there?
No, again, you're the creator. Um, you can be rooted in your story. If you find yourself stuck, if you find yourself not knowing necessarily to go, that there's things you can do to change that. And ultimately you're the common denominator where you are in life, and
Mhm.
you you are the tool, you are the creator, no one's coming to save you.
Mhm.
I learned that the hard way. I kept wanting someone to save me, and you know what? I had to save myself.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
confidence that comes in doing that, and the self-worth, the list goes on and on, self-love, everything, anything and everything. It really starts with each one of us individually. And know there's people like Cory and I that, that are there, and others, that are there to help, because again, we've been through it. And it's not that we necessarily know what's better or worse for you. It's just a guide and accountability partner, and to know, hey, you're not alone. You don't have to do this alone.
Right. It's hard to see our own blind spots, especially when
Yep.
we're frightened.
Yep. I love that.
Especially when we're frightened.
Yep.
All right, everybody out there. Well, so good to have you with us today. Feel free to reach out to us if you're inspired, intrigued, got questions, or you need some help. Adam and I are both here for you. You'll find our links here. We're more powerful together than we'll ever be standing alone. And I really want to just leave you with a question. What could possibly be more important than dreaming about your future? When we're triggered and traumatized, we stop dreaming about tomorrow. And if we manifest what we think about, we stop thinking about how good tomorrow can be. So, one more time, what could possibly be more important than dreaming about your future in a loving, beautiful way? And with that, I'm going to leave you all. Adam Nugent, thank you, my friend, for being with me today. I look forward to all of our adventures in the future. It is always an honor to be with you, my friend.
As always, appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Give us a thumbs up and make sure you pass on if you like what we're doing here today. Let some friends know. I would sure love your subscriptions on YouTube and all of those good things. I'm Cory Thorell, and we'll see you in the circles. Thank you again, Adam. Be well.